Moore Street has been the centre of attention this 1916 centenary year. There has been various groups involved in the campaign to save the terrace, where the leaders of the Easter Rising last gathered before surrendering to British soldiers. We met up with one of the key figures of the Save Moore Street campaign, Patrick Cooney.
Buildings on Moore Street, quite apart from their 1916 connections, are a rare survivor of an 18th century street in Dublin. There were military actions on this street, civilians died on this street, volunteers died on this street. It's a battlefield. So the argument that's used, there's only a few buildings left. Well, actually, there's not. The vast bulk of the terrace still exists. The basement exists. No proper survey has been done of these buildings. I think even now, if a survey was done, I would be surprised at what would be found. They started tunnelling through the night. They tunnelled at different levels. They were smart. If they tunnelled at the same level, if they ended the terrace, if they met British Army marksmen, they were once again in a firing range. So they tunnelled at one level, dropped down a floor, tunnelled again. And it was difficult because the party walls of these buildings was bricks and mortar, and some of them could have been double walls. These men on the tunnelling team were already exhausted from a week in the GPO, and yet they managed to get all the way through to number 25. We're now standing in front of our national monument. Number 14, number 15, number 16 and number 17 Moore Street. If the developer gets his way, all that will be left of this entire terrace are the 4 red brick facades that we're looking at the moment, covered in a scaffolding and an illegal banner. The rest will be gone. You'll be looking at a very large retail and apartment development with a glass dome at the back. The fact that these buildings are still standing is down to the citizens' campaign.
The Minister of Heritage, Heather Humphrey, believes only that buildings 14 to 17 are of historical significance and should be preserved.
Save Moore Street from demolition. Sign a petition.
In a recent court case involving the Moore Street campaign in the state, Justice Max Barrett declared the whole terrace to be a national monument. Protesters have taken action to save Moore Street and to gain the public support. Jeremy Bratnock talks to us about his involvement in the campaign.
We knew that it was imminent, that they were going to knock down some buildings. We called a protest on the street, and 2 days, that was on a Thursday and a Friday. After the Thursday demonstration, people went and occupied the buildings, and they occupied them for 5 days. And they left them then with a promise, as they understood it, that there would be no demolition and no work carried out until the court case had been decided. But we kept hearing grinding noises and drilling noises coming from inside and banging, and some of the street traders were telling us about it as well. So they wouldn't. Then we decided we tried to get inspections of the building, and the mayor went down with a couple of TDs, and they didn't let them in. They wouldn't let No, they turned them by the door, and they wouldn't let an independent inspector in. They said their instructions came from the Department of Heritage. And at that point we said, well, okay, we just can't allow this to go on, and we're now in week 4 of a blockade where we allowed no workers to go in at all.
We visited Moore Lane, where a citizens' injunction was taking place. One of the protesters, Sean Ennis, had formed a blockade at the back entrance to the terrace, which was set up when builders attempted to enter and begin work on the buildings.
We have been involved since basically the awareness weeks have started. So the awareness weeks were before the scaffold went up, and there was basically community gatherings, really, you could call it, to raise awareness, sign the petition. Sean shares his hopes on what should be done with the terrace. What we'd like to see is basically, in my own opinion, I would like to see them, all of the buildings being preserved and make it a tourist site, a national monument, so to speak. More or less, you can go in, have a look around, basically a small tour.
Many others too are interested in what will happen next to Moore Street. The court case has been a big win for the protesters, and whatever the fate of the street, it's sure to retain its lively multicultural character.